Hello everybody, I'm open to Module 5 here, where we will be covering Chapter 9, Prosocial Behavior, and Chapter 10, Aggression. Now, these are two very different chapters. One talks about sort of the good in people, and the other talks about the bad in people. It is a busy module in that we'll have several videos to watch, which I will get to in a moment. But let's take a look first. Here's your to-do list. And this week, I want to point out that I'm giving an extra credit opportunity. I should say this module, I'm giving an extra credit opportunity, and it's going to be based in prosocial behavior. So we'll also get to that in a moment, but I just want to point that out right away for you. This is the only extra credit opportunity that you'll have for the class. Chapter objectives. Prosocial behavior. We first want to understand the difference between what is prosocial behavior and what is altruism. This is largely discussed in one of the extra readings this week, but it's also talked about in the book, and it forms the basis for understanding human intentions when it comes to acting on behalf of other people. It first will cover in the chapter sort of what led to this area of research, prosocial behavior, which was the Kitty Genovese case. And I'll have a video on that as well for you to watch. Basically, it delves into the area of diffusion of responsibility. What essentially happens when people fail to respond to an emergency. When something is going on around us, we know we should act and we don't. Why? Why does that happen? So we'll get into Lotney and Darley's research on this topic, and it's very specific to sort of emergency type situations and responses. Once we've covered that, we'll get into what are the factors involved in people's lack of action. So looking at situational factors or environmental variables, if you will, things about the environment, things about where we are, what time it is, who we're around that might influence whether or not we act. And then motivational factors, which we can think of as being internal to the person. What about us, our personality, our traits, our temperament, our disposition, our upbringing, lay the foundation for the motivations we have to or not to act. Why is it that some people are always doing good for others and other people never even think about doing anything for other people? And it's a very selfish sort of motivational place to be. What produces that? So it's going to get into all of those variables. We'll talk a little bit about the role of emotions and how emotions play a role in our decisions to help. And then as well as pluralistic ignorance, that's popping up again. We talked about this earlier in the course and how that plays a key role in this diffusion of responsibility, which is what happens when people fail to act when they know that they really should. Once we've covered that, we'll get into now a little bit more of the altruism and empathy. What does altruism mean? What does it mean to act empathetically? There's some various hypotheses that exist about why we do good in the first place. And these hypotheses are directly tied to the article reading for this module. So I'll touch on that in just a minute. But they'll also be tied to a little bit of your discussion that you're going to be doing for this module. We'll look at different theories as to why this is, prominent in the research in terms of understanding people's motivations for helping. Then we will start getting into what happens during a catastrophe, the role of gratitude and what gratitude can do for us. I teach health psychology as well, and I can tell you we talk a lot about, in social and in health psych, just the role of gratitude. When we're grateful and thankful on a daily basis, not just at Thanksgiving, and we're helping others and we're constantly seeking out opportunity to do good for others and be thankful for our own situation, it's hard to be sad. and it plays a big role in fighting depression. We are a depressed nation because we're a selfish nation. Much of the research has now turned attention towards digging ourselves out of this pit of selfishness in order to produce a true happiness within the person, something that material possessions and experiences and even relationships cannot fix. Depression is a huge issue right now in our country, and everyone's looking to the reasons why it exists, why it's gotten worse, why it's on the rise in every age group, and gratitude plays a huge role. So this is, I think, a really important topic. It touches on just so many issues that we have right now in our society. So we'll also be looking at motivations for volunteering. Why do some people volunteer and some people do not? There are different reasons, not all created equal. And then here we'll get into a little bit of some theory behind that as well. So that kind of covers prosocial behavior. And again, that's very opposite to the next chapter, which is aggression. You know, that negative aspect of our personalities that we would like to pretend doesn't exist. But unfortunately, in today's world with our selfishness, it's coming out more and more and more. And people are very, very aggressive today. And we have some videos that we'll be watching that sort of demonstrate how this has gotten worse as time has gone on. So we'll take a look at, again, first and foremost, some of the theories behind aggression and aggressive drives and motivations. Where does that all come from? Some different hypotheses about that. We'll start to get into the role of violence as well as pornography. These two things play key roles in aggression. And it's different for different genders. So we see some huge gender differences popping out and sort of what this has contributed to now that our society is very pro-violence and pro-sex. It all seems real great, but it's not. It's causing a lot of problems and leading to some negative aspects that now we're dealing with the ramifications of all of that. So we'll get into that. We will also talk a little bit about type A behavior, which is another concept that comes up in health psychology. It's a very aggressive type of personality, a very competitive, edgy, combative, argumentative type of person. It is sort of what you think of when you think of road rage. You know, the person who gets in his or her car and is just immediately on the combative, immediately on the defensive, ready to pounce on, the first person that cuts them off or something like that. So it's not just being competitive. It's not just having goals and working super hard and being a workaholic. That is usually part of it. But the biggest key to type A is hostility. There is sort of an ingrained aggressive component to a type A person. So we'll get into a little bit of that. We'll look at some environmental variables influence aggression, things like just the temperature, alcohol, drugs, being a victim of bullying. And so that'll bring up some interesting research in bullying and cyberbullying and even workplace bullying, because it doesn't go away necessarily once you're out of school. A lot of what people deal with today is some bullying in the workplace, but it's sort of inadvertent. It's not in your face. It's very subtle. We can think of it as sort of an implicit type of bullying, but just as damaging as, the more like, hey, we're going to have a fight and we're going to slug it out type of aggression. We'll take a look at punishment as a deterrent to violence. Is that a good thing? Is that a negative thing? Which we'll touch a little bit on some of the learning principles we've talked about earlier in the class, learning through modeling and observational learning, as well as behavior, aspects of, reward and punishment and operant conditioning, making associations between what we do, our actions, and then the consequences that they have. and just talking about some more cognitive sort of elements to aggression, like, you know, the catharsis hypothesis. Is finding a proper channel for our aggression a good thing? Like, does that help? What does the research show? As well as some cognitive techniques that can be used to reduce aggression. Today, aggression workshops are very popular. You might know of them as anger management workshops. They're popping up all over. And it's basically set up to teach people how to channel some of the aggressive drives and tendencies that they've learned in our environment that is very pro-aggressive, and how to better, suit themselves to combating some of that. Okay, so those are the two chapters. The article readings are 28 and 31, and then you have your lecture slides. And here's where we start the videos. We're going to do a few on bystander intervention, a few different situations. These are very short, quick studies that'll give you a glimpse as to what is this thing called bystander intervention and why does it exist. Here is a what would you do video that looks at, just helping behavior. Would you stop to help a child in a, sort of situation that seems like it could be an emergency or like something is wrong? So those are our pro-social videos, and then we're going to get into a little bit more of the aggression. We're going to take a look at this video, America the Rude, which basically explores what's gone wrong in the decorum of Americans. Why is it that we've lost our civility? How do we get it back if we can? And what does the research say about doing that? As well, then we'll look at, these are very short ones, this one, and this one, very short videos on different ways we see aggression in culture today. We model it, kids model it, it's the first place they learn it. Kids, contrary to what culture might like you to believe, are not born aggressive. Aggression is very much a learned trait. Now, there are some biological components that definitely can play a role, but it doesn't explain everything. Much of what we exhibit in our aggressive behaviors comes from what we've learned by watching others, and that may be in our immediate environment. Today it's more so in the media and what is around us, and so we'll be taking a look at that, and then finally taking a look at the role of electronic devices, as well as social media, in producing people that just don't care. Sort of a bystander apathy. We are so tuned into our devices that chaos can be going around us, and we don't even realize it, nor do we feel an inkling of responsibility to do anything about it if it doesn't involve us. So that'll be the last video. So a lot of these videos are very short, and you should be able to get through them quickly. And again, these are in addition to the ones that you'll find embedded in the Revel reading of the chapter. Your discussion this week, you are answering all 3 questions. I know last week I gave you guys a little bit of a break and I said to pick one. I always try to do that every now and then when I can, but this is really important module. Both chapters are, I think, really get at the core of society today, and so I really want you answering all these questions. You're going to be first talking about the empathy altruism sort of conundrum, taking a look at the various theories and hypotheses and saying which one do you tend to agree with the most and why. Again, tie it into the research. And then looking at aggression, which ties in Article 31, as well as the chapter on aggression, be citing and using all your resources for that. And then the third question deals with some of the videos. I want your response to watching the bystander apathy in electronic devices video. What do you think about that? And how does it tie into what you've read in the chapters? There's exam 5, and your extra credit has to do with a random act of kindness. I'm not going to say much more about that, except it's worth 8 points. I included a short video clip here on some ideas of what you can do for random acts of kindness, but you can pick anything. and have fun with it. Do some good.